right. We are live. So have no fear. I look alone, but I won't be for long. I guess instead of restarting the stream, I thought I would just turn it on for a little bit. Chris will be about 30 minutes late, so we'll hang out until then. I was trying to tune the video to not look so green. The adapter we have is making it look very green. And I don't think I helped at all. It looks better on the monitor, but it doesn't look better on YouTube. So I got to compensate for whatever that is. But yeah, our video here for some reason is very green. But Chris will be here. No need for the JPEG. Chris will make a personal appearance. But I thought I'd get started and just chat for a bit with you guys. And we have a new patron too. Oh yeah, so I can let me just bring up the chat while we're waiting. Oh, and that's not lined up anymore. All right. Yes, evil eyes in the wall. Yeah. Yeah, our lights to give us some color in the background. Yeah, I'm still thinking about what else we can do in the background to make it visually more interesting. It's just too easy to, put PNGs and stuff up, but physically I want to do something to change the setup a little bit. Hey K5, how's it going? Our longest term member, K5 Square Body. Good to see you. All right. So yeah. And this week's episode, unfortunately, is just going to be retreading a lot of stuff because there's been developments. I'm sometimes kind of cautious about what to talk about and what not to because things evolve and more information comes out about certain topics. And last week was one of those times where I should have waited on, I think, 2 of the stories because we have gotten updates. And I was actually directly contacted by someone involved in one of the stories. And it was not the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, thank God. But we'll talk about that. But I thought it was good. I mean, I thought it was good that they directly reached out, and of course they have an ulterior motive. They have a financial financial well-being to think of. But hey, Abyss, how's it going? Good morning. All right. Yeah, and that was really fun too. If you guys saw last week after the weekly that Friday night. We played some Brawl Arcane 28, and Chris brought that beautiful custom board, and we had a couple. We actually, now that's a sign of a good game. The first time you play it, we had 3 hours, and we were able to play twice. So that means the rules were perfectly clear. We didn't have any things that complicated things, and the second match actually was very movement intensive because the terrain moved. So we literally had to move like 6 trees every player's turn, so twice a game turn. But that was really great. And now we're getting really spoiled because we did the Chronopia playtest, and the one of the creators was in the chat, and now Brawl Arcane 28, and the creator was in the chat giving us rules corrections and things, and also previewing. So there's new wizard types and things coming out in a rules update, and so previewing some of that. So that was great. It's just I have to figure out, like, when we're playing a game, I need like another monitor that's only chat or something that I can read very easily, so that I can watch chat while we're playing, because I had it on a tablet and kept having to turn around or walk away from the mic to read what was going on. But it was really fun. Oh, nice. Yes. This is the Blacklist Miniatures Blacklist Miniatures set. Yeah, these came in really handy. I these were a very affordable Kickstarter. I think it was like $45 for like 2 giant boxes full of miniatures. And when we changed wizard types and for the second match, I had to grab something that looked like living spells, and they had the ghosts, I think they were originally made as, but they're translucent blue, so they looked really good on the board. So it's great to have that kind of as reserve, very generic fantasy. So it might be worth giving those things a a quick, a table ready paint job, so they're always kind of available. That's very cool. Yeah. Yeah, and they did a second edition. So I read on an update for this first series that they did that they're having some fulfillment delays still. So they're still, because of, manufacturing, or I guess, probably Chinese fulfillment stuff, they're having trouble. We were very lucky. I got it really early because it came directly from China. And there's a series 2 that they did. So there's a number of kind of generic, character, race and class types, and then a bunch of different monsters. The only... And part of the thing that makes them affordable is there's only one sculpt for each type. So all of your goblins have the same pose. Everything has similar poses. So it makes them easily recognizable if they're not painted. So anything that is shaped like that is that type of monster. But yeah, and the second series they did, they also had a rule book, like a rule set for playing with the miniatures and kind of a setting. And I think it's a narrative. It's similar to Rangers of Shadowdeep, so it's a narrative type game, so you can play it single player or cooperatively. So yeah, that was worth. So I hope they're doing okay. I hope this they don't run into problems that also hurts their second series and delays, which they might be hitting now. So we'll see. As far as I know, because there's no barcode or anything on this box. So I think they were selling from their website, but I don't think they're just going online retail. And I'm not sure if they, when they're going to have stock, but they are not going to retail. I think directly because I guess this might be the Kickstarter packaging, though. Of course, there could be a retail packaging that they did, but I haven't heard anything about that. And I believe they did board games as well, so some of their board games are available, and that's what kind of got them into thinking about doing generic fantasy. And I did an unboxing of these, which I will try to find in this endless list. I guess it would have been a live stream. Huh? In this endless list of stuff, if you want to see what they had. Yeah, it was a while ago. But yeah, they're very, very generic, but reliably usable fantasy miniatures. And the second set kind of filled in all of the gaps, anything that you felt it could have been lacking. So yeah, it was a good selection. But we'll see, and hopefully things will go well for them getting everything finished. Wow, so many videos. I can't believe. Oh yeah, let me see. Oh, and I've got another, the reprint, the anniversary reprint of the Call of Cthulhu first edition came. So everyone's kind of gotten theirs already, so I'm a little bit late to the party with that. Here's the unboxing for those miniatures if you want to see. Blacklist, one word, Blacklist Miniatures is the name of the company. And yeah, it was too reasonable to pass up, and the shipping was really cheap. So this box, and then another like twice as thick as this, so the larger scale miniatures, because these get a little bit, you can see on the back, these get a little bit, these aren't actual size, they're zoomed in, but then they do big dragons and things, or maybe like more like wyverns. They like the worms, because there's no arms. So they did the bigger ones in the the expanded Kickstarter stuff. But yeah, they're decent sculpts, and it's nice to have just PVC plastic that you can drop and not have to worry about. I mean, they don't break. It would be really hard to do anything to them, and just to have them in reserve, because sometimes, especially with the OSR group, sometimes they want to do things actually on a map and do more strategic rules for specific combats. So it's good. Oh yeah, Abyss, you're right. Yeah, the ogre and the giantess were big standouts there. They were large. Yeah, it's true. It is. It's like 100% of all the generic things that you would need that would come up. Spiders and orcs and just about everything you can think of that would come in the generic. And with the second set, too, I think you're going to have a pretty nice wide spread of the character classes and races. And I can't remember if they did gender swaps or not. But yeah, and they're just generic enough. They're not too like World of Warcraft, and they're not too. They're not. The style isn't pushed any specific way. That was the thing I wasn't crazy about with the new Hero Quest, is they're a little World of Warcraft. They were trying to look for a style, I guess, that wasn't like old Citadel miniature style. But yeah, good stuff. Yes. Yeah, the Conan miniatures, those are definitely a dipping a dipping kind of a number of miniatures. I've got that same problem, and they just fulfilled the Conqueror, the second set that they did. So it's a ridiculous amount of Conan. But I like the dashboards, the new kind of fold-in dashboards that they did, because with the way that the game works, you're moving little like crystals around to represent like your energy or your rage, and they can slide around on just a flat top. Yeah, but I'm thinking about trying a couple of because I did a quick paint for the this War of Mine. I did a quick like a clear coat, a wash, and then a couple of dry brushings to make those, because they were just going to be kind of gray, because even the game itself is very desaturated and gray. And that worked really well for those miniatures, and made them look much nicer on the board. Oh, and that was the thing with the Return to Dark Tower. Those miniatures had an ink wash on them from the factory, and that looked amazing. I can't believe the difference that just that little bit makes, because the texture was more matte, like they had a different texture to them, and the detail was just popping out, so it didn't feel like cheap board game miniatures, because they weren't shiny or anything. So that was a really big surprise. Yeah, but a lot of those, especially for Conan, because you've got all of these groups of the same kind of warrior, they need just coated, like based and dipped. I don't know if they've perfected that yet, though. You'd have to, I think, hang them upside down to get it to work okay. But yeah, and I saw there's going to be new contrast paints coming out. There was like a big teaser trailer. Games Workshop was doing a teaser trailer, and so it looked like they were going to do some new, type of paint or paint method, or whatever, something else to aid you in your hobby. And it wasn't at all. It was just more colors for their contrast range, and a whiter white for basing them. And I think because they don't have a specific contrast white, the white was just the Corvus, or what was it? No, the whatever the white was, and it worked okay, but it needs kind of a tooth to it to really handle the contrast paint well, and it wasn't specifically made for it. So the new white for contrast might give you a little nicer highlight, and it might the paint might break up the pigment a little more evenly. But yeah, the Conan Kickstarters give you a lot of miniatures. I've seen a couple of people in Japan, I think just because of the number of boxes and stuff, I've seen a couple of people in the board game group in Japan just dumping their Conan. And that was back in the time when the Modifius RPG came out, and then the board game came out, and that was one of those things where, well, now you have every miniature you could possibly need for a Conan RPG. There we go. Yes. The pile of shame. Yeah, I wonder how much, because it was done well. So I wonder how much that adds, because which company is it? Is it Awakened Realms that it's doing the sun? What they call it, the sun coat or sun spot, where they do a directional spray. They do like a wash and a directional spray, depending on, and they change it a little bit for some of their miniatures, and so it gives you a kind of painted, some sort of treatment. It works better for some things than others, but the results are really inconsistent. They're real uneven. So some things, especially the larger miniatures, look really nice, and some of the smaller miniatures just look like they got the edge of a blast of spray paint. So, yeah, but I wonder how much that added to the manufacturing process. It seemed like too the miniatures weren't as distorted, so maybe that is a good thing. If they need one more step in their preparation, maybe they don't pull them out of the molds as fast because you didn't have any of the crazy warping. It may have been the material too, but there wasn't so much of that crazy warping you get sometimes. Sundrop, there we go. Yeah. No, that's true. Just an ink wash makes such a difference, and I think just the perception of the value, because you're paying kind of premium for these board games with a lot of miniatures. They're the price tag is really getting up there. It's always well over $100, depending on how many miniatures. So if they right out of the box, and if the ink didn't interfere with anything you wanted to do paint wise, which it probably wouldn't, because it's very thin. It doesn't block any of the details, as far as I could tell. I mean, it'd be interesting to prime one of them and see if you do lose anything, because they are board game miniatures, so the detail is a little bit lighter, on the lighter side. So yeah, we'll be talking about some the future of a certain company's board games. Yeah, and Sundrop adds a bit to the price too. I saw, where was it, Miniatures Market, or somebody was selling the sets of that Chibi Dungeon tile game painted. I guess they released for the Kickstarter, they released like painted sets, and it looks like it's just kind of flats. It's just like very, very basic coloring, no washes or anything, but very basic paint jobs. But an entire set of those miniatures from that Kickstarter. I forget what the game was called, but it's a come on game, and it was funny to see. And for painted miniatures, the price was pretty affordable, but it's crazy that they even did that. So obviously they've got overstock of painted sets. That's crazy. Yeah, but I'm still not sure how. I've never ordered the Sundrop. I always pass. They say I have a sample one. Sometimes because that's what I think it is at Waken Realms, because they include a sample or a teaser from their next project in the previous Kickstarter. And so I have from Nemesis, I have one of the Sundrop minis, and it didn't make me want to buy that version. I still wanted to have a little bit more control over that paint job. But yeah, we'll see a lot of experimenting with that, I'm sure. But but that was, the quality was surprisingly good of some of the like AT-43 and even the Mutant Chronicles pre-painted miniatures, the larger, the 54 millimeter kind of miniatures board game. It was pretty good, and even the the Rackham game, the other Rackham game, the Rackham Confrontation, pre-painted were surprisingly good. But I think it was just that kind of production is way too expensive. So, because those pre-painted miniatures compared to what like WizKids and it does with, where there's all kinds of just wonkiness about the paint job, these definitely had like layers of, they had washes and a lot of details and dry brushing and stuff. But I think that's why that company just kind of went away, because if you take that hobby step out of a miniatures game, then you've got a very different audience. And I've got a bunch of those in hopes to tighten up the paint jobs a little bit, and just kind of and because they're sculpts that you're never going to see again. But yeah, it's they're just weren't quite good enough to be, if you like the hobby, to be happy with those Chinese factory paint jobs, or wherever they were producing them at the time. That was a decade or so ago. Nice. So Abyss says, are there any older stuff you would like to see get a new life brought into them? Oh yeah. Oh, I was just so the new patron that we have brought up. I asked him for suggestions about content, and brought up something that I would definitely like to see get a second edition, which is Vor the Maelstrom. I and it was funny that he mentioned this because I picked up the starter box. I found a starter box on eBay for a decent price, and I'll unbox that very soon. And those are Ralphartha miniatures, so excellent, like old metal Ralphartha miniature. So great sculpts, and of course the Paul Bonner like box art for that, and a lot of the rule books had Paul Bonner art, so that was immediately wonderful. So there's a failed Kickstarter in the like 20-teens for a second version of Maelstrom, but that would be something I'd like to see come back, because that was a very interesting setting, very unique and interesting setting that had kind of unlimited factions that they could have brought into it, because it's basically you're just drawn into this into this maelstrom, into this this world of constant combat, because you're just kind of teleported there. So the conflict and everything worked really well, because everyone was out of place. There was, except for I think the growlers, I think, were kind of fighting on their home turf, but most everybody was just drawn into that setting. So there's some really interesting alien types and stuff, but it was all metal miniatures. So now with how you can sculpt things and how you can produce things, it would be great to see Vor come back. Oh yeah, I'm afraid that either Warcry or one of those other Age of Sigmar kind of skirmish games has killed the chance of Mordheim. I don't know why they wouldn't do that, or why they wouldn't just say this is AOS Mordheim, because they bring back all kinds of stuff anyhow. But yeah, I would really love to see Mordheim come back with a nice updated sculpts. But I think the other stuff they're doing with fantasy might keep that from happening. I think it's not Warcry, it's the thing that they did before that. I think that was kind of intentionally their replacement for the Age of Sigmar version of that. But yeah, I'd love to see, because Mordheim is definitely my all-time favorite skirmish game, and I love the gangs in that. And so I still get my little bit of satisfaction from the PC game that they did, which is a pretty faithful. It's very PC PC rules, but if you want your Mordheim kick, then the PC game is pretty good. Yeah, after seeing how awesome the Dark Tower ended up, yeah, and the pile of ways to hero quest did the Kickstarter. Yeah, it got me thinking about all the things that were really good. Yeah, that just got lost in time. Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, that setting is just great. I mean, the theme of it and the whole setting was good, and because Warhammer Fantasy had great factions. You had the Sisters of Sigmar, and as they expanded things too, you got the treasure hunting dwarves, and then the witch hunters, and they and even the Amazons. Like, they did so many great extended fantasy universe warbands. Yeah, I've got almost all of that in metal. I went on a Mordheim collecting spree for a while there, and I think I have just about every Mordheim warband in metal. And yeah, there's some really good stuff, and just a little bit of old metal Necromunda, but a lot of Mordheim. Yes. Fanatical murder nuns. Yeah, those are great miniatures, and it really lend itself to the to doing your own scenery and stuff, kind of gothic ruined buildings, and the whole look of that city. Very Warhammer fantasy, and collecting all the weird stone you can. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, that'd be great if they. I don't think, because of the stuff they're doing with Age of Sigmar, I don't think they'll ever bring that back. It'd be so good to see the same effort they did with bringing Necromunda back that they put into, and who knows, maybe. I mean, if it might be a good opportunity when they bring back Warhammer Fantasy, the Forge World kind of ridiculously expensive version of Warhammer Fantasy we get. If that's popular enough, maybe that would motivate them to try a Mordheim reboot. I would be afraid, though, of what they would do to the rules. I don't trust Games Workshop anymore as far as rules. It seems like rules are always in service of selling models now for them. They don't like want to make a rule set that actually works. They want to make a rule set that they can release stuff and then they can, FAQ, or they can, nerf different units, because they come out and they're crazy strong and then they, knock them down. So they're just using their rules to sell, miniatures. I really hate that. That's the whole problem I have with the Horus Heresy stuff, the plastic Horus Heresy stuff coming out. It looks like that is just a way to try to get people. They're not going to ever do everything they need to do in plastic for Horus Heresy, so they're just going to rely on that insanely expensive resin on Forge World. And people even said that most of the photos in the books are just the Forge World minis, so they haven't produced and they don't plan to produce plastic of all of that. This is just a gateway. They're trying to people that may be getting burned out on 40K or feeling a little old and want to, do something a little more retro. And this is just a way to gateway them into the most expensive, most ridiculous thing that they have to offer. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Mordheim. Yeah, I think Mordheim is a lot of people's first. It was just the kind of grim, dark kind of grunginess, the mud and blood ugliness of it. I think was very fun, and we hadn't seen that before. Now there's like some of the even Brawl Arcane and things. They definitely have Mordheim inspirations. A lot of the fantasy, weird history skirmish games definitely have influence from Mordheim. Just that setting, that kind of cruddy setting. And it's so fun to do terrain and miniatures in that style too, to just let your paint jobs be crusty. Oh, sorry. I mean, sniff into the mic. I thought the allergy season is over, but I'm getting hit by something, so I will apologize. Sorry, this wonderful audio. Chris, where are you? Please. So Abbas says, what instantly caught my attention was just how cool set pieces are, and then was told that it changes each mission. Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a very cool aspect of the game. Yeah, I think the first terrain I ever built was for Mordheim. Oh, yeah, that's very cool. Well, this is the longest preamble ever. This is all premium content right now, right? This will only be on the Patreon RSS or live. And I'll filter out the AC. Sorry, it's just getting too hot and humid to keep that off. It'll be a sauna in here by the time we're done recording. So yeah, as soon as Chris gets here, I'm gonna have to jump up. No, I haven't. I just did a quick skim of the beginning. So yeah, the Blade Runner early access for the Blade Runner RPG, the core book, and the starter set came out. I just kind of read a little bit at the beginning. I wanted to get a sense of like how they were setting it. And so there's, I'm forgetting the date, but it's like smack in between 2019 and 2049. So 37 or something. It's right in between. And I think it's going to be okay. There's a couple of things that were a little bit odd. I have to finish reading the timeline, but a little bit of weird. So I guess they're saying that initially Blade Runners could be human or replicant, but then there was the law passed that banished, that forbid all replicants, and then when they started hunting and killing the Nexus 6. So are we supposed to believe that they reliably were going to use? So that's the thing that bugs me about Blade Runner, is there's like a weird contradiction in that story, because we still, I mean, just like the Philip K. Dick story, there's the character, they want the character to be insecure about their identity and who they are, and why they're able to kill like that, and if they're killing people and whatever. But then the Deckard being a replicant thing bothers me, because now that has to be written, it has to be able to interpret it both ways now. So there is when you're rolling up characters, you can choose or just randomly roll. So you can be a replicant or a human, and then that'll change some physical attributes and things. But then you can also be a secret replicant, and it can be a secret roll that it's the game runner. So you're playing Blade Runners, and the game runner is the GM. They always have to do the cute name for the game master. But yeah, right. Well, I think the initial tone, there was so much like monkeying with the movie, and no, it doesn't ultimately matter, and leaving it vague is interesting, but I think Deckard being a replicant undermines a lot of the struggle for, because it's about a human losing their humanity because they're a murderer, and the inspiration was from the diaries of the concentration camp guards. So the diaries of Nazi guards about them losing their humanity from seeing so much death. And so that was, the inspiration of the story. But of course, then the story is like, the movie script is like one step removed. But I always, fucking Ridley Scott, exactly. Well, the fact that the ending, the happy ending, added in there was just extra B-roll from The Shining, and the unicorn dream was B-roll from Legend, the fantasy Tom Cruise movie that he did. It just makes it, I don't know. I have a lot of problems with Ridley Scott, but but so that's in there, and I want to read a little bit more about how that works. But so you can be a secret replicant. And we're already talking about replicants being Blade Runners, and I'm not quite sure how that works when you're exterminating them and you're openly a replicant, but I don't know. Still, there's the lifespan and everything, the 3-year lifespan or whatever. So many cuts of Blade Runner. Yeah, a GM should screen them. That's a good idea. Yeah, Matt, that's a good idea. Yeah, Matt said you should screen the cut you like the most of Blade Runner so people understand. And I'm going to just do horrible voiceover the whole time. So I'm going to run that game, and I'm going to use all the worst voiceover. Cold fish. That's what my ex-wife called me. I'm just going to do the disinterested, I hope they don't actually use this in the movie voiceover that Harrison Ford did. That style of... Yikes. Yeah, that would probably destroy any game group. What is the correct cut of Blade Runner? Is Deckard a replicant? That's basically it's a friendship ending conversation. Yeah, but so similar to Alien, where the Ridley Scott again fucking things up, where what they did with Prometheus and then Covenant kind of screws up. And it did for me, because I could just let the group go with it. When I was running Alien, I would just let the group go with like a higher level of technology instead of keeping it the first 70s movie Alien, where it was very low tech, and that motion detector that they had was just very minimal information. But they had those 3D holographic maps of where everybody was at all times in Prometheus, and that's prequel, so okay, well, I don't know why it changed, but so they had to figure out, and I think the writer did a great job in those cinematic adventures of kind of melding those two worlds, and even in the kind of backstory, the history of it seems to work okay, but it's a little funny. Oh yeah, no, the voiceover is near and dear, near and dear to my heart as well, because that's the first thing I heard. And you loved Harrison Ford because that was Han Solo, Indiana Jones. You loved Harrison Ford at that point, so his voice was great. But but just the content, the writing of that voiceover. I guess they were trying to do kind of film noir, kind of 40s noir type. I don't know. But the fun way that they kind of explained everything in this monotone kind of shitty way was great. So Biss said, "How can one man be so full of himself too? If I can keep something good and over and over again." Yeah, it's really strange how how he keeps messing with things and not being, I don't know. And we're still going to get, he's pretty old. I think he's in his 80s now, right? So are we going to get this robot focused, this android focused, another kind of Prometheus world type sequel? I heard that's what he was threatening. I don't know, but we're getting an Alien TV show, aren't we? Like a streaming series. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. No, really? Matt said he's doing Gladiator as we speak. That guy. So I respect, like, visually, I really like Ridley Scott. I don't like his pretentious, and probably anybody with a British accent in Hollywood gets, to do anything they want because they just, every executive assumes that he must be so much smart. He must know what he's talking about, just like the infomercials in America. Everyone has a British or Australian accent that's trying to sell you something. But I like his visual sense, and maybe he should have just stayed making TV, like Apple commercials and music videos or something, because I like his visual style. And the fact that he's a director that can draw his own storyboards, like can draw pretty, impressive storyboards, was cool. But all this pretentious, everything beyond that is a little much. Yeah. Oh yeah, Ridley Scott, and just the I think it was Prometheus or whatever. It's just some behind the scenes thing he was talking about. He basically gets young men to follow him around, and they drink red wine together and just like spin off on these, like, all this stupid nonsense. So it must be somebody, like, probably with a MacBook Pro, just like typing up everything that he spews as he, like, slides into, drunk wine ant slurs, slurring. But yeah, the description of, like, what they did, just like they're kind of terrorizing a studio and walking through, like, people that are doing sculpts and things, like people that are working on effects and models and stuff, and they're just like fucking with their day and getting drunk. And so yeah, I don't know the description of how he was in the pre-production stage and writing stage. It sounded pretty horrifying. But but we're only going to get so much more. It's not like he's got another dozen films in him, so we're only going to get so much more Ridley Scott. So we'll see. Hope we get a good one before the end. Yeah. Oh, so this is all Blade Runner. So things looked interesting for the system, and I was just trying to get the timeline kind of understood, and the first case file, I think they're calling them, looks fun. It looks really fun. Very heavy investigation and everything. Of course, that gives them a lot to keep track of. Fuck them. Yes, Abyss. I agree. There's got to be. I mean, we got to get some new blood in there. Oh yeah, oh man. Yeah, I was pretty saddened by the state of Red Letter Media. They talked about the Obi-Wan series a little bit, and they're both like, "Yeah, it was fun. It was guilty pleasure." Like, yeah, they've just lost it. That's made me really sad. That they were the person I kind of relied on, or the voice I kind of relied on for sanity and kind of like catharsis and stuff, like surviving this garbage, like the prequels and everything. Kind of making sense of why they happened and whatever. So it was really fun to, their criticism of them, those original Plinkett reviews were great. But now they're just getting old. Everybody gets old and soft, and they lose that anger. The anger is what keeps some content fun. No problem, Abyss. I've been letting through all of your filtered comments. No problem. Yeah, I don't know. But everything I've just read the beginnings of kind of both books, and everything looks good. And of course the materials, all the Martin Grip portraits and stuff for the NPCs and stuff look great, and everything's going to be in envelopes and everything. So, and it's great. They give you like instructions already, like, here's this. If this is the first time you're playing and these are the characters you're playing, hand this person this, hand this person that. So one character gets a newspaper, the other character gets a case file, and so you get to like look at them first. So there's going to be some fun, more kind of Call of Cthulhu interaction with props, and that was the thing that I did a lot of, and I really liked in Alien, is like just covering the table with stuff for when the characters are like on the ship and just hanging around for stuff for them to interact with. And so they're doing that. for Blade Runner, there's going to be stuff, and I guess because the photo, searching photos for clues and stuff is part of it. So yeah, it'll be really fun. Yeah, so we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to figure out a good way if we're gonna do a virtual tabletop. I'm not sure which one would be the best for like giving specific players, like letting certain players only see things first. But being physically together would be really fun for that, and especially especially if someone's like holding a newspaper, like you're meeting in the rain, and someone's like got a newspaper under their arm. Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah, so I guess that's going to be the thing. I'm gonna have to constantly be playing rain sound effects for the whole Blade Runner session because it's going to be raining all the time, and so I'll need rain and then the kind of intermittent buzzing of a neon right in the back. So I'll get those sound effects ready. Yeah, so it's fun, and if the system isn't too crazy different from the type of things they did with Alien or Twilight, I think it'll be pretty easy to run too. You know what? I think it may have. Yeah, it's probably not going to be out for a while, but yeah, no, Matt, I think you're right. It may have, and Free League is there's one VTT that they support. They officially support most directly. Foundry, I think it's Foundry, and I've got a license for that, so that might work out, and it'll be a good reason to learn a bit more of that, because that's pretty highly customizable. So it should have show only one player, this kind of thing, because I think even Astral does that. They have a pull down that shows who can see this, everyone, the GM, or specific players. So yeah, so I'll either run it on Foundry or Astral. Astral I know the best because that's when I'm running the Warhammer Fantasy on, the Enemy Within. But yeah, we have to do that. We got to do that. Yeah, right. It's cigarette. Yeah, that's right. Cigarette smoke as well. Oh man, yeah. That would be really fun. Yeah, there's enough smokers in our gaming groups. That'd be perfect. And then just it's got to get neon on the walls and projector light, kind of going through the room so you can see the. That's right. Can I smoke? Yeah, it won't affect the test. And she's like, taking drags after every question. Oh yeah, and I wonder if they're going to do the Void Conf questions. That might be really fun to do with an NPC. I didn't get to that point yet. Like they referenced it several times in the setting stuff. So yeah, literally everyone has to smoke. If you don't smoke, there's just going to be a lit cigarette sitting next to you anyhow. So it's going to be a very life-shortening campaign. It is. Abyss, you're right. Yeah, Abyss said it's really wild to see how little people smoke now. Yeah, and I don't even get the full effect of that because in Japan there's still, you can still smoke in a lot of places. It's starting to, they're converting some of the smoke, because they kind of put people in like glass cases in smoking areas now, in more like modern restaurants and coffee shops. And those are starting to just be regular seating now. So they take the doors off and they say no smoking in the whole place now. So some companies are just giving up even smoking sections. It's in between, yeah. Abyss, it's like so 2019 and 2049, and it's in the like 2030s. I think the actual setting, the Void Conf test. Oh yeah, by autocorrect. Yeah, it definitely should. It's got to be in the game, and some great questions. Like they have to come up with some really good questions. Yeah, it's right in between the two movies, so we don't quite have the. Whatever that event is, I don't think that's happened yet. There's like some kind of EMP or some satellite is destroyed or something. So the databases are wiped out. So there's no way to know. Everyone's just anonymous now, and there's no way to know who was a replicant. So then the replicants can hide more easily, making it more difficult for the Blade Runners to find them. And then the new versions of them are, different. The new, I can't think of the new company that emerges after Tyrell Corporation goes down. So yeah, it's an interesting hybrid. Like I think they want to have the beginnings of what happens in 2049, because there's some really cool setting things, like the whole the outskirts of LA and everything just being this like junk wasteland and desert by the time just a weird Korean casino desert by the time you get out to like Las Vegas. Yeah. So yeah, I hope it has, yeah. I think if they did what they did with Alien, I think it should be good. But it also then depends on the license, because there's so many. I guess Blade Runner doesn't have the same problem with Alien, because Alien had a lot of, like, Dark Horse did a ton of comics. It's got a lot of novels and stuff that continued basically the original stuff. So the license would have to be specific to what they kind of have access to. Blade Runner isn't quite so all over the place. So hopefully that'll be better. But yeah, we should be good. Uh-oh, I hope Chris doesn't have to cancel. Let me tell you. No, wait, here we go. Oh, there we go. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Chris did... Uh-oh, it's time to get out the JPEG. God damn. What's going to be a whole lot of me talking about things I talked about last week. God damn. Yeah, Chris says not going to work. Okay, so give me a second here, guys. I will be right back, and I'll kind of get set up here for a solo cast. God damn. Okay, well, enough rambling. Yeah, I was thinking I've been streaming for a while. Okay, so we'll get this going. All right, so I get free iced coffee then. So yeah, just give me a second here, and I will be right back. Let me see. Do I have a be right back? I don't even know. I get a ton of screens here. Yeah, I'll just leave it. Okay, I'll be right back. Back to the intro. Okay, just a sec. We're back. Oh, hey, Matt. Yeah, it does look like SoCal. Yeah, it's very has that look. I think it's Wakayama. Jackson told me it was Wakayama. Just they had a chance to run down there, and there's so much, like most prefectures have coastline in Japan, but there's some places that you go all in for attract more tourists with the palm trees and all that good stuff. All right. So I'm sorry, but you get the JPEG. Oh, that's right. And the mic stand's totally different now. So it's going to be completely bizarre. We can't. There we go. Yeah. We're going to have to get a new Chris photo. All right. Well, let's try to do this solo. So sorry, guys. I thought for sure that was going to work out. But unexpected things, I mean, because this is lunch. This is Chris's lunch. Unexpected things do happen. So the first thing that I would like to do... Oh, wait. I have to find Chris's JPEG again. But say thank you very much to Patrick for Patrick Cassidy. Thank you. And our giant gas explosion. Our newest patron, Patrick Cassidy. I was talking about earlier that he gave me a lot of good feedback about what he'd be interested in seeing. And one of the things that he mentioned was Vor the Maelstrom, the miniatures game from the 90s. And I just happened to get a starter set of that, so I'll be unboxing that and talking about the rules. And I've got a bunch of the faction books as well, so we'll go through that setting and talk a bit about what a great game that was. And it did have a failed Kickstarter, so it was going to be revived, and it didn't happen. I guess the original creator does have the rights to it, but probably not, rights to any of the sculpts or anything. It was done with FASA when it was originally released, and so that he created the game and has the rights, but I don't think has would have to do all the models and things from scratch, which would be much easier now with the way things are. So thank you, Patrick, so much for being a patron. It's much appreciated. So yeah, let's see. Let's get started this week. We've already talked as much as we can. Yeah, it was great to talk. Thanks, everyone. Oh, and so let me just double check. Yeah, I wonder how far afield the license allows them to roam. Yeah, I'm really curious about that, and that's something probably we'll never know. You can just kind of surmise from what they do and don't do, like the Terminator. The Slay Industries Terminator that's coming out, or the guys that do Slay Industries. that's a game. It's not a company. The guys that do Slay Industries had the Terminator license, but I think it's just the comics. I think it's just what was kind of covered in the comics, so not quite none of the sequel movies, and I'm not sure if it's just the original movie, but most of it is set during the war against the machines. All right, so yeah, thanks again, Patrick. I really appreciate you supporting us. That helps a lot. And Chris is back. Yeah, so very good stuff. All right, so yeah, so Ready Player One, but I get to drink Chris's iced coffee, so. That's one benefit to a solo cast. I need this giant box to hide this giant iced coffee. So if you hear any ice cubes during the cast, I apologize. All right. So let's get going for this week with a tremendous an hour of preamble. Let's get started with this week's episode. All right. Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy. And this week, it's a solo cast. It's a surprise solo cast. So Chris had every intention of being here, but unfortunately, work got to be too much. I guess there's a lot of stuff coming up for this summer. So we will bash on regardless. And so there's a long preamble. So if you're a patron or if you're watching the live stream, you heard a lot of discussion prior, and some exciting things about the Blade Runner RPG, the early access PDFs went out for that, and so there's some good stuff coming for that. But Chris will be back as soon as we can get regularly situated. I think things will calm down. If not, we'll have to pick another day for the stream. But this week on the weekly, Mantic board game division, so a new division for Mantic, Backerkit launches their crowdfunders. And TT Combat statement. So we were contacted by someone from Troll Trader, and we'll talk about that. And then Embracer released a statement about what wonderful people Saudi Arabians are. Anyhow, so a quick thank you. We have a new patron, and let me rock this again real quick. So Patrick Cassidy, thank you so much for being a patron, and we look forward to giving you some good content in the future. I love that explosion of smoke. All right, what great scenes we have. So let's start off with Mantic's announcement. So they did so Ronnie from Mantic did an interview, kind of an exclusive interview on a gaming channel on YouTube, and they discussed the new division that they're launching. So Mantic will be launching a board game only, I guess board game and card game only division that will be separate from what they do for wargaming. So, Mantic, if you don't know, they're also based in Nottingham, UK, and they produce Kings of War, Dead Zone, Warpath, I think is their 40K, and Kings of War, of course, is their fantasy miniatures game. And they were going to start a focus on family-friendly, kind of easy to learn, and a lot of licensed board games. So a lot of IP games. And the first one that they announced is Umbrella Academy. So Umbrella Academy, the board game, is going to show up on GameFound. Oh, it already has. Yeah. A couple days ago, it showed up on GameFound, which is a new crowdfunding platform, which is not Kickstarter. And I suspect that they're offering a little bit of a sweeter cut, maybe better fees, which will give them the motivation to do this. So simple pick up and play rules and cooperative gameplay is going to be the focus of what they're doing, and especially with this new Umbrella Academy. And it's a license directly from Dark Horse, so there's no relationship to that weird Netflix series that they're kind of changing the characters and changing everything. So the sculpts of the miniatures, and there will be miniatures, of course, so they're going to do standees and things, of course, because they'll have access to all of that art. But I think their big focus is going to be a set of miniatures for these board games to make them, for Mantic fans, to make them a little more exciting. And Mantic does decent board game miniatures, but they have some really nice lines for Kings of War and things. I mean, I think for a while, and I think it still may be the case, they have the best zombies and skeletons in the game in the field. That first set that they did all that time ago is some really good detailed sculpts and really great looking and very customizable zombies and skeletons, which looked much more elegant and had a much more real scale and things than anything that Warhammer was doing. But the statement from Mantic says, "At Mantic, we've become well known for creating accessible and enjoyable war games like Kings of War and the recently released Firefight 2nd Edition. With the creation of the board game division, we want to develop more products that can be enjoyed by a wider range of audiences. This could be ready-made RPG adventures to play as part of a wider campaign, a card game that introduces new fans to our fantasy realms, and a kid-friendly dungeon crawler that can be played during family game night. Having these titles published under the Mantic Board Game Division brand allows them to be produced without distracting from our core fantasy and sci-fi releases. What's more, it gives us new ways to introduce gamers to the wonderful world of Mantic." Yeah, so I think it's kind of a way to onboard, and especially like if there's some kid-friendly games that can do a more kid-friendly version of their fantasy dungeon crawl. And then if the kid recognizes like some characters or things from the setting, that may bring them into Kings of War, which I think makes sense. And especially with the crowdfunding, the safety of crowdfunding, where you can gauge the level of interest in things, I think that'll help them a lot. So basically, they want to create products, work with licensing partners, and I guess they're working well with Dark Horse because they've done a few games already with licensed IPs, and they've got a good relationship with Dark Horse. So we'll be seeing some of those properties coming up, and things that wouldn't translate well into their wargaming space. Now they have a chance to work on those projects. And it really sounds like they want to do kind of one and done crowdfunding campaigns that give you a basic board game that they can keep offering as a core set. And then, of course, like a deluxe set that has all the miniatures and everything. Like they'll, based on the success of the crowdfunder, pimp out the game as much as they can. And that will be the release. So it's just done once it's done. I don't think they're going to keep supporting things. Maybe, I mean, if they are incredibly popular, maybe they will. But it does really sound like they want these to be projects that have a single license IP. They put them out and they exist, forever to buy as standalone board games. And also in the same way they did with the original kind of tile crawling dungeon games that they were producing like at the very beginning to try to get people interested in their fantasy setting, which I hope has developed a lot. It was always a little bit too generic and not that compelling, compared to what Warhammer Fantasy was doing. So I hope they're getting a more interesting and complex as things are going on. So in their interview, Ronnie teased the next thing they're doing is a retro 80s 16-bit platformer license. So I'm not sure what that is. I hope they don't get too crazy as far as who they're licensing from. But they've already did Walking Dead and Hellboy as licensed games. And I'll put the link to the interview. If you can understand Ronnie Renton's accent, you can listen straight from the horse's mouth, everything they're talking about with the board games. So it sounds good. I mean, I have Mantic was some of the first miniatures that I ever bought, and because they were so affordable, and they had Space Dwarves. Like, that's the thing that finally, we have again from from Games Workshop. But Mantic at the time for Warpath had Space Dwarves, and so that was a big motivation to try out their miniatures. And I've never been completely happy with the detail and the sharpness and the everything about their miniatures, but they're getting better. And I like the thing you have to admire about Mantic is they're very honest about. This is okay. These old kits, we know they weren't great. We were mixing metal and plastic, and we've gotten better. And so now we're doing plastic only. And they have a lot of enthusiasm, and they've got great rule sets because they've worked with some of the original designers that also worked with the Warhammer license or Warhammer. They worked at Games Workshop, so. They've got good rules. Their miniatures keep getting better. They're so affordable, and they're just this underdog that I've always can't resist rooting for. But I can't say that I haven't been disappointed by things like Dungeon Saga and some of the stuff that's come out from them. But I've always they have a place in my heart just because they're a worthy underdog. So that's going to change things. So we're going to see their presence kind of probably much more continuously on GameFound for releasing these board games. And the sculpts already that they've showed off for Umbrella Academy look good. I mean, they look very much like the comic book characters, so they're not, it doesn't feel strange or anything. And I'm so glad it's not a weird Netflix license, so we don't have to look at those weird abominations that happened. So, speaking of crowdfunding platforms and alternatives to Kickstarter, Backerkit has just launched, I guess they're in their beta now. So they announced their crowdfunding platform with nearly 40 planned projects. So starting completely for reals in 2023, they are going to launch with a Gloomhaven exclusive. So that's pretty huge. So now they're in a kind of an open beta period. So they have a few projects that are running, and this was kind of a surprise announcement that happened on the 14th of this month. So on Twitter, they said they've got 5 currently active projects and more coming. So they're working with Whirligig Games, Leader Games, and Tuesday Night Games, who are the Mothership creators, and of course Restoration Games, who did Return to Dark Tower. So it looks like they're getting some good support, and if you used Kickstarter, you probably used Backerkit because they were the back end, the thing that Kickstarter never figured out that they probably should do. So Kickstarter, between GameFound and Backerkit, have created 2 competitors now, and people look very interested in moving their projects over to these platforms because Kickstarter is still talking about how to utilize blockchain and NFTs, and they don't even know what they're doing, but they want to do something. So I think that's making people nervous. And most specifically, the creator of Gloomhaven talks specifically about not wanting to find out what that was going to be. So Isaac Childres of Cephalofair Games has specifically supported Backerkit and will be releasing a Gloomhaven specific miniatures campaign, which is going to give you 500 miniatures to support everything that was just standees for Gloomhaven, all of its expansions, and also Jaws of the Lion. and I guess that would also mean Frosthaven as well, because 500 miniatures, my God. So that might be something worth looking at. So Isaac said, using Backerkit is the easiest part of the crowdfunding experience because at anytime you have a problem or needed anything, they were on it, coming up with solutions, Childres said in an email. If they could do the entire crowdfunding experience, well, that seemed like an easy decision to make. So, yeah, very obviously, Isaac was very happy with the support and the problem solving. And I think, there's always problems in campaigns. So that made it very easy. And he goes on to say, Kickstarter has made it clear to us that they want to be at the forefront of a transition to Web 3. And Cephalofair Games just isn't about that. So Kickstarter has yet to supply, in the 7 months since they made their announcement, any concrete example of how moving to blockchain will make crowdfunding better for creators or backers. And pretty much all we have seen in that time from the crypto space is rampant fraud, theft, and financial ruin. We are quite hesitant to move in any way that would associate ourselves with or enable any of that. So I think, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I really admire just the little bit of interaction I had with the first Gloomhaven campaign with Isaac was wonderful. He is on top of everything and is directly answering backers' questions. It was, amazing. So he finishes by saying, we knew they were the right people to do this because they were consistently innovating. They're always paying attention, scrutinizing everything in the crowdfunding space and determining how to make their service as useful and streamlined as possible, talking about Backerkit. So that's a very good endorsement of this platform. And it does seem, anybody that's had experience with Backerkit will know that, they work out the problems well. And if you have change of addresses and billing problems and stuff, they address those things very, very quickly. So, and I think even for the people running the campaigns, the creators on the platform, they're doing well. So, Kickstarter had a statement, kind of following up with this and talking about. So, what did Kickstarter have to say and kind of reaction to now having some competition? So, Kate Bernick said that creators need to choose the platform that fits them best. Kickstarter is a project-based platform, and we get that works for one project. What works for one project may be different from another. Our goal is our mission, not market share. Our goal is our mission. Interesting. We focused on ensuring our platform best serves the thousands of creators who use it to bring their work to life. Okay, well, that doesn't help, and I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna do well in the face of this kind of competition. But they did make clear that Backerkit will still, the tools and the website itself, the back end, will still be available to creators that are running crowdfunding campaigns on Kickstarter. So Backerkit will still exist and will still work with Kickstarter. It's not like they're going to cut them off, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea. If they're going to be a little more cutthroat. So they will still be available. And don't forget that we also have GameFound as well. So Marcin Sverkot, the founder of Awakened Realms, also recently brought GameFound out of beta. And their goal is 25% of Kickstarter's tabletop earnings for this year. So they're trying to make decent inroads. And as we saw, that's where Mantic is going. So I think they already have some decent names on there. So new competition for Kickstarter, and I really think they need to reevaluate. But I think tabletop was big for Kickstarter, so it was kind of inevitable that maybe someone was going to try to take a piece out of that. And they still have everything else. Kickstarter still supports publishing and theater projects, and they have a huge variety of categories on Kickstarter that may be fine. So it's funny that this is now a rivalry between a San Francisco-based Backerkit and Brooklyn-based Kickstarter. So East Coast, West Coast rivalry at this point, and throw a little Poland in there. We'll see how this goes. And but I think that's a great endorsement from Childres. That's he says a lot of positive things about Backerkit. So we'll see. And I think customers are just going to go where they feel the most secure. And pretty much if you've used Kickstarter, you've probably used GameFound, and you've probably used Backerkit. So you have accounts with all of them already. So yeah, I guess the choice will just be, who penalizes you the most. I guess they're going to have to be really careful, because one bad experience is probably going to push you to one platform or another. So we'll see. So speaking of Kickstarter, last week we talked about Secret Weapon Miniatures closing, and this was based on an update posted on a Kickstarter page, a Kickstarter update for their HD Bases Kickstarter campaign. And so the entire discussion was based on this single statement posted as an update on that crowdfunding campaign. So we were basically getting one side of the story. And Upturned Table was contacted by Louis Simspon. And immediately as I saw this, I'm like, okay, what is this? Some customer like white knighting their favorite company. But Louis is the managing director of Troll Trader. So Louis reached out, and Louis is married to Jessica Simpson. So I had to listen to everything that he had to say. But he said, what you reported or what you discussed was completely inaccurate and totally wrong. Look at the statement that TT Combat posted on their website and, give us a fair shake. And so I did. I took a look at the statement. So originally, the Secret Weapon update was posted on the 31st of May. Following up on the 10th of June, Owen Roberts of TT Combat posted this statement. And the two stories, so basically we have two stories. The truth is somewhere in between, but now that we have this new information, it's looking worse for Secret Weapon. So let me kind of fill you in on the new information. So starting in February of 2021, Secret Weapon and TT Combat or Troll Trader were working together. But they received an email from Justin McCoy of Secret Weapon saying, I will be announcing the closure of Secret Weapon this month. We are not able to weather the pandemic. So that's the midst of 2021. So we're still, dealing with all of that. And so what ended up happening is Troll Trader offered them a cash injection to hopefully keep them alive and kicking. So they entered into a rolling 3-month deal where they would pay Secret Weapon $10,000 for a 3-month license, and a license of their bases, because I think they wanted to sell the bases, which is the kind of premier product that Secret Weapon did in the UK. So sell their bases in the UK. They paid the first $10,000 in advance to help Secret Weapon immediately, keep the employees paid, and they then, in turn, Secret Weapon began to send the masters of their bases to them, and Troll Trader or TT Combat began to produce molds for production of these bases. Then, in a month, Justin came back to them and said, I need more money. So they entered into a further 3 months, a further agreement 3 months in advance, and Secret Weapon offered them paints to sell, their paint line, at no additional charge. Then the next month, even more money was asked for. And at this point, Troll Trader said, we'd like to see your accounts. We'd like to see where this money is going, because not only did they have the money from the Kickstarter campaign, which they weren't fulfilling, but now they were in it for, $20,000 already for money for a license of these bases. And so what they're saying is that they were just trying to help Justin save his business. And, the thing that you have to keep in mind when you're anything about business is there's no good guys and bad guys. There's no heroes and villains. It's alignment is neutral, and it's winners and losers and what makes money and what doesn't. So there's not a good and evil. So companies don't do things for the good of the world for the most part, unless they're, virtue signaling. But obviously, Troll Trader wanted to maintain this license for these bases that they wanted to sell on the site. So they, were then going to their intentions by all this advanced licensing payment was, continue to employ the staff and help them fulfill the outstanding Kickstarter campaign. And during this time, and just as they requested, can we see your books? We don't know why you're still hurting for money. Justin took a vacation, so that was a further red flag. I think the first 10,000 in advance should have been their first red flag, but they, I guess on good faith, they decided that they were going to try to get this licensing agreement to work. They also said that his salary took a significant amount out of the company. And so now we have Troll Trader in the situation where they've already spent £15,000 making molds and $20,000 that they'd already given to Secret Weapon. And they had yet to sell a single base from this licensing agreement. So they're got molds for production. They've already paid this money that was supposed to be, for a licensing agreement. And they've sold nothing. So they contacted, so in that statement, the update that was posted by Secret Weapon, they were saying U.S. Bank, and we're working with U.S. Bank, and that's who our loan that we have in, they're defaulting, and they have our IP because we've defaulted. So Troll Trader contacted U.S. Bank to register an interest in that IP if, in fact, there is a bankruptcy or there's some proceedings where, it could actually be licensed or purchased. And they couldn't confirm at all if U.S. Bank actually repossessed Secret Weapon's IP. So there's no sign of this business failing, this loan not working or whatever. And they state very specifically, we are not stopping Justin from communicating with his HD Bases Kickstarter backers in any way, and in fact would encourage him to show those backers exactly where the money has been spent and what he has to show for it. So in the end, we do end up in, if they can have possession of the Secret Weapon IP from whatever bankruptcy or whatever happens, they will definitely say that they'll reach out to the HD Bases backers and try to get those products in their hands. So a very rough kind of relationship, and I think it feels like, having minimal experience with this, but have had a little bit of experience with international business. It's very, very expensive to litigate anything internationally. So certain people will take advantage of that, and deals you've made on good faith and deals you've made without, seeing someone's book, seeing someone's financials, or even having an idea of what kind of person you're dealing with, can be a little bit dangerous, because if they decide to do this, you're screwed. So they entered into some sort of license agreement. They don't talk about, the paperwork or terms or whatever, but if they're giving people money in advance, you're already kind of messing with whatever contract, whatever paperwork that was. But so as soon as that happened, and as soon as he was requesting money, he's saying, we're going out of business, but if you give me money, and then, it sounds like some shenanigans. So this does change the story that we got in that update by Justin McCoy. And he very much kept saying, I can't talk about this. This is the first time I've been able to talk about this. This is all stuff that's, been up in the air, litigation or default or whatever. But it does seem very, very suspicious that he's putting so much blame on Troll Trader. And it doesn't seem like Troll Trader at all, aside from trying to license their products and actually spending money to, make molds from masters, and then having Justin turn around and say, you have no license, you can't do this, so that they're, in a very uncomfortable situation. It sounds like he was taking advantage of that, and maybe it's true that the company wasn't going to survive the pandemic. And I think a lot of shenanigans, have gone. A lot of money's been lost, and a lot of shenanigans happened during the pandemic, or with the pandemic as an excuse. And it sounds like it's too bad, because I never was a customer of Secret Weapon, but I always liked the look of their custom bases. But yeah, it does sound like what was going on, especially in terms of the closure of that company, was a bit shady, because where is that Kickstarter money? Where is all the money that was sent by Troll Trader, and why don't they have a license? So they are trying to resolve this, and they would because I think they like that product very much, they would buy the IP and maintain, continue the relationship, represent Secret Weapon, and fulfill those pledges to the backers. So that's a good thing. And so I just want to clarify, I'm very glad that Louis reached out to us. And of course, we're not journalists. I don't check multiple sources. I mean, for this, all we had was the update, and I'd read multiple blog posts and news items that were just about this update. So we were only getting that one side of this. But the one thing that reading about this made me realize is, if I say, fuck Games Workshop, that has no effect on them whatsoever. It doesn't hurt their bottom line. They're going to throw another million on the pile this week, regardless of my opinion. But, for people that listen to the weekly, if I say something negative based on nothing, based on a single update on a Kickstarter page, with no references, I have no confirmation of anything. I don't have multiple sources of anything. If I say something negative about an online retailer, they don't have huge business. And if I take away 1 or 2 sales, that sucks. I mean, that's something that, just being a fan of this hobby and wanting to talk about kind of what's going on in the hobby, I don't want to have that kind of effect. So I definitely, always want to give companies a fair shake, and don't want to actually, cast anybody in a bad light that doesn't deserve it. I've previously purchased things, I think, through their eBay shop from Troll Trader, and have had a positive experience with them. So I have nothing bad to say about that company. And that statement did make them look like they were the problem. They were getting in the way. They're the reason the Kickstarter wasn't being fulfilled. And I think that's just a further kind of obfuscation, like they're just trying to cloud the waters as much as possible. Justin was just trying to cloud the waters to make him as blameless as possible if he's just taking the money and running, which I think the pandemic is full of a lot of. So good luck to Troll Trader in the future. I would love to see them own that IP and continue Secret Weapon, because I think that's I think they did, decent products, and just maybe not great at doing business. So we'll see. And I did see on the TT Combat website, or it was the Troll Trader site, that they do have listings for the bases and things. So hopefully they will be able to, they do have a license to sell those paints and everything. So thank you, Louis, for getting in touch, and say hello to Jessica for me. And be sure to tell her that canned tuna fish is not, in fact, chicken. Yes. So that is just, I just wanted to say that and clarify that, because, that seemed to be a bit of a frustration. So, Troll Trader had nothing to do. They were just trying to license, and actually just trying to help with kind of, as a kind of an angel licenser, not an investor, but it is an angel licenser, trying to help them keep going in some tough times. And I guess there was not the intention at all. And it's really hard, overseas. If Troll Trader is completely UK based, it is really hard overseas to deal with this. It's very expensive to litigate. It's even very expensive to find out what's going on. You have to hire everybody domestically to the situation. So that is an update on that. And sorry, that was a kind of a deep dive, but I wanted to make sure, because Louis reached out, that I gave it some proper attention. Because as far as my experience with Troll Trader, they're good guys that run a good business, and they give you good prices on a lot of wargaming stuff. So hopefully we will see Secret Weapon from them in the future. And and actually, it coming from the UK would be a lot easier to get everything to Japan. All right. So continuing our look back at last week, the Embracer CEO released a statement kind of defending their taking the $1 billion from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So Savvy Gaming Group, which is owned by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, made a $1 billion investment in Embracer Group last week that we talked about. And so this gives them the 8.1% stake in Embracer Group. But a lot of people, weren't really happy about this, because, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has a history of repression of human rights, and a real, bad view of the LGBT community, and So, people weren't sure, weren't really comfortable with Embracer Group approving this. And the CEO, Lars Wingefors, defended the move, saying that they do have different views on this topic. So he talked about that this investment was not taken lightly, and this investment by Saudi Arabia will not change how the company is run. So the statement goes on to say, "I want to be clear, Embracer will continue to be operated by me, our operative CEOs and management team across the entire group. Embracer is built on the principles of freedom, inclusion, humanity, and openness. The transaction with SGG, Saudi Arabia, will not change this in any way. Embracer is still controlled by people working in our group. Together, we control a significant majority of the votes in the company." SGG will own slightly more than 5% of the votes and 8% of the capital that they have invested in Embracer because they support our current vision, strategy, leadership, and not to change it. Okay, so so it basically comes down to Saudi Arabia was described. I guess the CEO gently described Saudi Arabia as a non-democratic country, but I guess money is money, and they already have received investments from the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, and Saudi Arabia's public investment fund already holds stakes. I think we talked about this last week. In stakes in Capcom, Nexon, Nintendo, and ESL. So. Yeah, it's the CEO basically said this is a machine that needs to be fueled, and their money is green. So there we go. He also said that for Embracer, there is only a handful of players in the world providing this type of sizable long-term equity capital. Without capital, our journey would notably slow down going forward, which could also have many implications for our businesses. SGG is providing very long-term capital to support our strategy without Embracer having to give up on our way of operating or other commercial opportunities. So before they accepted this investment, they said they had a 6-month discussion, learning about each other and sharing thoughts on how we can work together. This sounds like such a kumbaya moment. I can just see them sitting on the floor with an acoustic guitar. And they learned and discussed difficult topics involving non-gaming issues related to Saudi Arabia. Like things like their zero tolerance against all forms of harassment and discrimination. I guess that's Embracer saying this they have policies of equality, diversity, and zero tolerance against all forms of harassment and discrimination. Which okay, that's fine. And I guess Saudi Arabia said, yeah, you do you, whatever. I don't know, but the point is that in Saudi Arabia, women have only recently earned the right to drive and live on their own without the permission of a male guardian. And of course, same-sex relationships are outlawed and are subject to strict punishment. And I think that includes execution. And the most kind of depressing thing about this whole thing is, of course, the country's crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, has also been implicated in the brutal murder, which I have heard that he listened to via Skype, of the Saudi journalist and regime critic Jamal Khashoggi. Bin Salman is the chairman of the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, which also owns that Savvy Gaming Group. So yeah, there's direct involvement of that individual, who we know is responsible for some pretty fun stuff. But the president of the U.S. will be going hat in hand next month to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia asking for oil. So I guess we have to let them invest in whatever they want to invest in. Yeah, so I hope I won't be getting any email from the Kingdom or from Savvy Gaming Group because I probably won't respond. But yeah, so that's trying to paint as rosy a picture of this as possible on the part of Embracer, so we can just kind of continue with our characterization of this group of some tentacles that are supplied by human rights violations and in some cases murder. But it will make anybody that is thinking about criticizing any of the games released by the publishing arm of Embracer Group to think twice about negative reviews, because journalists are held in contempt, and I think their very lives are at stake. All right, that's all joking and in good fun, but so that was strange that they had to kind of come back and say, and basically just say, we're taking any money we can, because I can't imagine there's a worse source of money, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty much as bad as it gets. So we'll see if Embracer can actually do even worse than that, as far as people with votes in their on their board and capital in their company. But yeah, if it lets them do what they want to do, then why not? And part of that is, of course, preserving games in a giant archive. All right. So yeah, that was kind of the catch up and everything from this week. I hope that was fun, and I miss Chris's reaction. Chris is kind of frozen in disbelief by everything that I've been saying, if you're watching the live stream. But that is going to do it for this week. And so it was kind of a long discussion at the beginning. It was real fun to talk with everybody in the chat, so I will return to that shortly. So if you want to catch me again during the week, I do a single panel gag cartoon called Abuse Cartoons on YouTube and Twitch. The name of the strip itself is Domestic Abuse, and you can read that strip on gocomics.com/domesticabuse. And I do a live stream where I draw the cartoons for that week and eat some strange snacks from a Japanese convenience store just to kind of break things up. And if you'd like to support what we're doing here and get Chris back here regularly, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/upturntable. And it's the weekling category that lets us know that you like what we're doing here. And you can also support our lore series or anything else that we're doing. And upturntable.com is the website for everything that we do. And we're Upturntable on all social media and on both YouTube and Twitch. And we will be doing some more unboxings, some more live streaming, and hopefully some Blade Runner. That would be a fun thing to get on the channel as soon as possible. So thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back to our normal duo next week, hopefully. We'll be here on a different day so that we can be here together. And thank you so much for watching what we're doing. And and I'll put a link to Chris's social media and also the itch.io page. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back again next week. And so we're missing the later mortals, but goodbye. All right. Now the part where we return to the chat and see all the Z's and the sleeping emojis from my long-winded discussion. If only Chris was here to make me move on to other categories. All right, so here's that premium content where only the... and also, of course, I forgot. Click the join button as well. Be like K5. All right, so let me jump back a little bit to... to people going, no, Chris. All right, and here's that extra ASMR you've been waiting for. All right. Oh, hey, Rob. Rob is in the chat. A solo player, yes. I was deserted. I have to make my own co-host virtually. All right. So, let's see. Yes, I should get a more flattering picture of Chris for the stand-in. So I would love to know the history of Mantic. So weird how they Oh yeah, how they bear like a kid copying Games Workshop's homework. Yeah, I think Mantic is basically made of former Games Workshop, kind of like an exodus from Games Workshop, and they wanted to basically do, they learned to do what Games Workshop was doing and did the same sort of things. And they had Alicio, I can't think, one of the rules writers for Warhammer Fantasy, came with them and or worked with them to do Kings of War. So Kings of War is a nice, elegant kind of mass, ranked army fantasy war game. Basically based on like a third edition or fourth edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. But I think they are. I think that there's a lot of. I think Warlord is the same. I think Warlord is also former Games Workshop employees that wanted to focus on historic and other things, and they had Rick Priestley work with them to do new settings. So their Beyond the Gates of Antares is a Rick Priestley setting using their Bolt Action, the system that they had already created for Bolt Action, which is their historical stuff. Yeah, so it's interesting. I've always had a soft spot for them because they make affordable miniatures. I mean, it's much lesser quality. They make affordable miniatures, and they just haven't, like, their settings are a little too generic to really be compelling. They don't have the lore. They don't have they haven't worked with the writers to do novels and stuff, and they don't have a compelling setting. But they do, and yeah, they do. They're doing the same sorts of things and trying to fill in the gaps where 40K or Warhammer Fantasy kind of failed. And when Age of Sigmar came out and they killed the old world at Games Workshop, they had an opportunity to kind of scoop all that up, and they did release a book like Forgotten Kingdoms, I think it was called, which was a stat lines and rule sets for all of the old Warhammer Fantasy armies. So basically they're saying, if they're going to abandon you, we're not. So come play your armies, come play your miniatures with our rule set. And that was a huge opportunity for them, and I don't think much happened. I think, people just kind of stayed around waiting to see what Games Workshop was going to do next. But I remember that being like, wow, this may be a big change. And like I said in our kind of preamble before, Mantic did the best zombies and best skeleton miniatures. They were gorgeous. And so that was one of the things that gave me a lot of faith in them. But a lot of the other factions and things have not been up to that standard. They do have a new Dust Empire, which is kind of Tomb Kings, their version of Tomb Kings, that look pretty good, that are all plastic now. So we will see. Yes. So let me get back to where. Oh, there we go. So Kickstarter recently took a big hit by Gloomhaven's Cephalofair Games, giving an open statement like that. Yeah. Isaac is definitely definitely giving them some business. Hurting their business. That's not shedding a good light. But I mean, for the size of his projects, and I think I had that in my notes, but I think he's raised like $15 million, like $15 or $17 million on that Kickstarter platform that they got 10% of, or whatever their cut is. So he definitely has, some say. He's a huge presence in tabletop. And, if he's feeling insecure, I think they should take that as a bit of a wake-up call and kind of get their messaging and everything a little bit more, to reassure the creators on that platform. Yeah. So, and competition is good. I mean, it's going to make Kickstarter do a better job. So that's good. Matt says, I wonder if Kickstarter just secretly wants to be bought by Elon Musk. Yeah, probably. Or avoid unionizing. I think Kickstarter had, although I think Kickstarter was one of the first kind of tech companies to unionize, because they're based in Brooklyn. All right. Isaac is a principled guy. Elon and Kickstarter is one hell of a match. Yes. That was definitely, Matt said that's some corpo speak worthy of the Tyrell Corporation from Kickstarter. Yeah, they certainly didn't. Our mission is our goal. Or okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, Indiegogo as well. Yeah, and they don't have, they kind of have that ongoing thing where it's not a limited campaign that you can kind of keep going, keep raising funds. GameFound has some major success in the past few months. Yeah, and I like that they're very comfortable as well, and they've got some. They're getting some good. They've gotten some good titles and projects on there recently too. Oh, New Sleeping Gods. Yeah, that's nice. I never used Indiegogo, but I know a lot of comic creators have moved onto there because Kickstarter was doing some censoring or doing some picking some winners in the comic book crowdfunding, so a lot of people had left. All right. Another another weak corporate speak statement from Embracer. Yeah, that Embracer certainly did go on and on about how we just need the money. They still have executions for heresy, and they have all kinds of horrible stuff going on. Embracer explaining exactly what capitalism is and is not. It ain't democratic and it ain't egalitarian. Thank you. Yes, Rob. That's true, Minion. That's true. Show me the money. Jeremy, you laugh now, but watch out for those tentacles. Yeah, right. I'm going to be receiving a visit from the consulate of Saudi Arabia. Yeah, now some of those tentacles have scimitars at the end of them now. And Abyss said, it took a while for me to make the connection. Yeah, these are the guys who recently bought all the Sony franchises. Yes. So they're the ones that own Deus Ex and Tomb Raider and everything now. Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Legacy of Kain they have as well. Hopefully that comes back. I like that. The characters in that setting a lot. All right. We'll see you later, Rob. Thanks for thanks for hanging out and helping me not miss Chris. I appreciate it. Chris's posture is S tier. It'd be hard to replace. Yes. Yeah. Very good. Very good posture. As opposed to me. Yeah. I'm sitting here like a lump. All right. Some more iced coffee drinking. All right. Well, we should do better next week. So it was good to see you, Rob. Thanks for stopping by. And Matt, as always. And Abyss. Yeah, very fun discussion. It's always good to have you guys in the chat. And K5, thanks for stopping in. Or Faith. Oh, and I'm sorry, I totally missed. K5 at the beginning said, I ordered some parts off of eBay, and an email I got said it got delivered yesterday, but nothing was in the mail. And I feared the worst. Then luckily the postmaster could look at the GPS location. Whoa, where it got scanned. Oh, wow. It went to the wrong house. Completely different. Oh, that's crazy that the Postal Service will use GPS. Oh, that's really cool. Well, that gives me some faith. And they would definitely be doing that in Japan as well. So GPS from when, when they scan and deliver stuff. That's crazy. But that's got to help a lot for lost packages. Wow. Yeah, sorry about that, K5. I missed that at the beginning. Yeah, good to chat with everyone. Good. Well, I'm glad. I always worry about these solo casts, but I got to touch on some stuff we missed before, so we'll see what happens, and hopefully, Troll Trader will have some. They can actually use those molds that they produced and everything. I hope that was good. All right, so excellent. Yeah. I'm glad you could catch the live stream. All right. So everyone take care, and we'll do this again next week. And let me do the before I log off here. Let me do the moment of silence, and I guess this will be for the now dead, but probably not not the worst thing in the world. Secret Weapon miniatures, and hopefully they come back with better management. Okay, so let me do a few seconds of silence here to get this air conditioning off of the final podcast. So give me a few seconds. All right. I can't even drink coffee during that because it'll ruin the sound sample. Yes, I got to capture a piece of that rumbling air conditioning that you guys can probably hear to take it out of the audio. And so this goes on the RSS feed for the Patreon, and it will exist in archives on both Twitch and YouTube. And then the regular podcast itself, between the this week and the sign off, will be released on our normal RSS feed for Upturned Table. All right. All right. So good night and take care, everyone that's going to bed, and have a good rest of the day for everyone that it's just past lunchtime. So, yeah, take care, and I'll see you next time. So have a good week, and we'll do this again, hopefully with less scolding and less business and more fun to talk about. Okay. Take care, everyone. See you again. Goodbye.